Today, I talk about my love of sports combined with my love of comics. Let's go. Hello, YouTube. Axiom Man here once again, and the 2024 NFL season is upon us. Now, if you're a comic book lover or a lover of pop culture, you're not into sports, 100% okay. Personally, I love both. I love sports, I love comic books, I love pop culture, but there's a stigma around that. Not so much anymore nowadays, but I'm a child of the 80s. And if you guys, anybody else in that genre, if you guys know that particular era, there was the whole jocks versus nerds, nerds versus jocks. There was really no versus. The nerds didn't really stand a chance unless you watch Revenge of the Nerds back in the 80s, and the nerds totally owned the jocks. One of my favorite 80s movies. But nowadays, the waters have diluted a little bit, and it's okay to be a nerd, right? Which is awesome, in my opinion. But I wanted to talk about, sports. If you're not into sports, I wanted to share my thoughts on why I took a deep dive into just sports in general. It started off with just baseball and then a little bit of basketball. And then I just realized something. A light bulb came on in my head, and I said, wow, the correlation between comic books, comic book characters and storylines, and real life, real time sports is awesome. There's so many cool, like, just correlation and similarities between the two that I want to talk about today. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's go.
Please hit like and subscribe.
So think about this. When you think about comic book characters, what do you see? You see these muscular characters in skin tight outfits in colorful form with emblems and logos. I mean, who cannot recognize and who can mistake Superman's S, Batman's logo, Wonder Woman's W, the X-Men X, the Fantastic Four, etc. The list goes on, right? And what are they doing in their stories? They are fighting the bad guy. They're fighting evil. They're fighting the bad guys, whoever they may be. And those characters are just as colorful, right? The Green Goblin. Who can argue with me? Please try to do so in the comment section. That the Joker does not have a iconic color palette, right? With the green hair and the white base and the purple. Who does not recognize the Joker's color palette? So switch sides and think about sports. You're talking about human beings at the top of their physical, physique. They're muscular, they're fit, they're fast, they're strong. And in several sports, they are wearing skin tight outfits, suits, sure, jerseys, sports apparel. In my opinion, they're costumes, and they're just as colorful, and they have almost the same type of thing going on. And by thing, I mean symbols, emblems, right? So just to give an example, since it's the NFL, here's my team. Here's my NFL team. They are the New Orleans Saints. This is my Drew Brees jersey. And, the emblem, the logo for the New Orleans Saints is the fleur-de-lis. The colors, as you can clearly see, are gold and black. So when I watch my team play, I'm watching those colors go out onto the field. And every Sunday, once again, in real time, I'm watching them play against the other team, the bad guys, whoever they may be. It may be the Las Vegas Raiders. It may be the Green Bay Packers. And every single one of their teams have their own iconic color scheme emblem, logo. And really what's happening here is that I'm watching a comic book unfold before my eyes in real time. I'm watching my good guys fight against the bad guys. And yet in a different perspective, right? If you're a fan of the Raiders or the Green Bay Packers, or I'm using the NFL, I'm using football in this example, but it could be any sport. So really what you're doing is you're watching your guys fight the other guys for a win. I find that so cool. It's so awesome to me. And that's where I took a deep dive and I said to myself, you know what? There's a lot of similarities to comic book storylines and sports. And that's where I stand. This is my perspective. You might not share my perspective, but this is how I see things. And it's cool to think about that, right? Especially considering that sports happen year round. There's no stop to them, much to my wife's chagrin. Chagrin, ooh, fancy word. Um, but yeah, there's hockey season, and then that ends, and then there's football season, then there's baseball season, then there's basketball season, and it just keeps going, and it's like a never-ending cycle of active live sports. If you're a comic book reader, you can see why that's so significant, because there's never an end to comic book stories. You have publishers like Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, Boom, and the list goes on, IDW, and they're constantly telling new stories, new storylines, new villains, it's same villains, same heroes, going at it again and again in a new way, in a new story, new methods. That's very similar to what sports do every year. New coaches, new players, new plays, etc. So that's just my take on it. I'm having a lot of fun watching sports. I've had a lot of fun for the last several years making this correlation, just tuning my perspective a little bit differently. And hopefully with this video, for those that watch my content and my channel, who knows? Maybe you'll reach out to a friend, a family member, and say, hey, I watched this video and I'm kind of interested in this season's football games. Can you tell me a little bit about your team? Can you tell me a little bit about how this works? You might surprise yourself. You might all of a sudden be at a store, a sports store, saying like, yeah, I want to buy a jersey for this team. Who knows, right? But that's it for this video. As always, collect what you love and love what you collect. I'll see you guys in the next one.